It's winter and I'm starting a new painting to give to my mom. Growing up, a Christmas movie that my mom really liked was Holiday in Handcuffs, and she always loved the painting from that movie. In real life, the painting was created by the artist Sarah Holtom. It's a beautiful winter scene of a girl skating on a pond. Whenever we watched that movie, when the painting came on screen, my mom would always say, "I love that painting, you should paint me that painting." So I am. As a gift for my mom, I am painting Sarah Holtom's piece from Holiday in Handcuffs. I'm going to use oil pastels for my iteration of this painting. That's been my medium of choice lately, although I do need to pick up my usual charcoal pencils again for my next piece. Usually, for me, color loses its appeal in the winter. I live in Minnesota, and here our winters are varying shades of white, brown, and gray. Since that's the color palette of the world around me from November to February, it's usually my comfort zone for those months, and I work with pencils or neutral-toned paints. This winter I've been craving more color, and oil pastels has been a fun way to explore that. I've been doing a lot of portraits with pastels, playing with color theory. I spent a couple of weeks drawing the same portraits back to back, experimenting with different color combinations so I could study the results. I absolutely have to get this painting done in the next 4 days though, so for now, I'm setting the portraits aside and this piece is my sole focus. Why 4 days, you ask? Because I'm starting this painting 4 days before Christmas Eve, and this painting needs to be under the Christmas tree, wrapped in paper with a little tag that says, "To Mom" on Christmas Eve. When I was young, I used to take it as a huge compliment when we would watch Holiday in Handcuffs, and this beautiful painting would come on screen, and she'd say, "You should paint me that painting, because you only tell people to do things that you believe they can do." The fact that she said it meant that she thought I could do it. For years, I've kept a Pinterest board where I pin things that would make good gifts for my mom. I don't usually end up consulting it at the holidays because I always seem to have something in mind. But this year, I needed inspiration. I found myself scrolling, and scrolling, all the way back to the very first pin on the board, a pin of this painting from Holiday in Handcuffs. Looking at the swirls of blue and gold, I had a realization, like, oh, I can actually do this now. Not exactly this, of course, something like this, but a little different, a little bit more me. Of course, I saw this 4 days before Christmas Eve, which wasn't ideal. I've got a plan though, so it's going to be fine. The plan involves me not leaving the house for the next 3 days, and me working with a constant stream of Christmas movies playing nearby. The stream of Christmas movies begins with Love Hard, because I love Nina Dobrev, and I always meant to watch it when it came out on Netflix, but I haven't actually seen it yet. When it comes to Christmas movies, it seems like everyone has a couple favorites that they rewatch every year. Holiday in Handcuffs is one for my family, but I have a few others. Love Actually is usually on my list, so is the more recent Disney animated adaptation of The Grinch. I always found the Jim Carrey Grinch a little scary as a kid, so I never got into it. The Tim Allen Santa Claus movies, those really make it feel like Christmas for me. My family will probably have those on while we bake or open gifts this weekend. Apart from my short list, I really like to switch it up a bit every year. Last year, I focused on Christmas horror movies like Krampus and Black Christmas. This year, I'm feeling a little more drawn to the romances. I've never seen Dash and Lily, but I've got that on my list, along with Let It Snow. I love to come back to my short list, though. They don't exactly bring back memories. It's more that they bring back a feeling, a sense of the past. I need this a little extra at Christmas because I tend to get so busy and stressed I forget to slow down and feel the things. Art can have that effect, stop you in your tracks and make you confront an emotion. Hopefully this painting will do that for my mom and I, if no one else. I absolutely did not invent this composition, but I am translating it through my hands to make it something new. Recreation can still be deeply personal. Whenever I make a piece, the whole process, everything that's going on around me while I'm working, sort of goes into the piece. When I look at the ones hanging on my wall, there's all of these memories attached to them. I can remember what audiobook I was listening to while working on them, or what movies I watched. I can always remember exactly where I worked on it, which is sometimes more than one location. When I flip through my sketchbooks, I don't just see the sketches. I'm brought back to coffee shops and parks and my parents' kitchen table and the patio behind our house. I'm surrounded by people, my husband drinking coffee, my mom baking cookies, or my sister reading a book. And these aren't the subject of my drawings or paintings. I was drawing mugs of coffee or vases of tulips and the flowering bush in my backyard, but the things that were around me are all in the piece too, for me anyway. And this painting will become a time capsule. just like that. So as I work on it, I'm very conscious of what I put into it. So this painting is not my painting, but it's also very much my painting to me and to my mom, because if I'd been able to find a print of this painting to buy her, she would have loved that, but not nearly as much as she'll love a version that I created. I'm so excited about the vibrancy of the colors in this painting, which is so strange for me. In the most hippy-dippy way possible, I draw creative energy from the seasons. Here in Minnesota, we see all 4 seasons at like the highest magnitude, and maybe that's part of the reason for it. The seasons are so loud here, you can't ignore them or forget about them. Your options are to be bitter towards them or to embrace them. For me, embracing winter usually looks like a lot of drawing with graphite and charcoal, also a lot of reading and writing, sometimes baking and cooking. These things feel like they flow naturally from the season. The world is harsh and gray, so I draw with pencils. The air is cold and sharp, so I make warm, soft things in my kitchen. And it's dark most of the time, so I light candles and read instead of going outside. It's not that I'm intentionally devoted to this way of being, it's just how I've always been. Everything I make and do changes with the seasons, and I don't like watching movies or reading books that aren't aligned with whatever season I'm in, and I'm always listening to whatever Taylor Swift album feels most seasonally appropriate. Speak Now is generally a springtime album for me, and so is Folklore. Summer is Lover and 1989, Fearless, and her self-titled debut album. Fall is obviously Red on repeat, along with Midnights and the Tortured Poets Department. Winter hits, and we dive headfirst into Evermore. Then we sit there for a while, and Patly refused to come out and belligerently insist it's the greatest album of all time. But then, in January, boom, it's Reputation season, and I'm reminded that we can in fact have all of the poetry with all of the wham bam bang beats, and it's like my brain cells are dancing. Don't ask me where the life of a showgirl lands for me seasonally. It's too soon to tell. I need to sit with it on repeat for a year. I digress. The point is, I live and create and consume in sync with the seasons, and vibrant colors don't usually call to me in winter. This winter, though, they are. It's a fun shift, and I'm excited to indulge in the jewel tones I'm craving. On one hand, this quest for color does feel like a tiny rebellion against my nature. At the same time, though, I can see how it's not so much a resistance of the winter season as it is a new view of the winter season. There's a blanket of white over the world around me, and the trees that bloomed green and lush in the summer and burned explosions of red in the fall are now statuesque gray. But there are deep, vibrant colors around me. The saffron and scarlet flames of the fire in our wood stove, the emerald arms of evergreens, the opal shimmer of the snow, glasses of wine reflecting shades of burgundy and amethyst in the light, cranberries like rubies on garlands and in glass bowls. There are glimmering jewels of color all around. I'm just more in tune to them this winter. The heaviness of oil pastels also feels appropriate for winter. Winter is a heavy season. Heavy coats and jackets, heavy blankets and heavy snow. The food we eat this season is rich and heavy, soups and casseroles, pies and mugs of hot chocolate. Working with a medium that has some weight to it feels right. Before starting this winter scene, I spent the last few weeks working through portrait studies, experimenting with color. I should explain, I'm always doing portrait studies. Someone told me once that if I could draw portraits, I could draw anything, and I really took that to heart. Usually, though, I do portrait studies in pencil, and I'm focusing on shapes and spatial relationships, textures and tones. I usually don't bother too much with color. When I draw or paint a landscape, I feel like I need color to capture the essence of the subject, but I've never felt that way about portraits. There's something so direct about a portrait in grayscale that I've at times felt colors just muddy the waters. They might make the overall image more pleasing to the eye, but they soften something sharp and simple about the portrait that I just hate to sacrifice. Since I've been craving color this winter, I decided to start using it in my portraits, even though I like my portraits better without them. My thinking here is that drawing portraits has taught me basically everything that I know about capturing the shape of a subject accurately, so I can probably trust portraits to teach me a lot about color as well. I've been choosing a face, then drawing it twice in my sketchbook. I draw the images back to back. One appears, the next directly follows. Each time, when I go in with my colorful oil pastels, I set different rules for myself, layering blacks and grays beneath the color to build value, or using complementary hues to push depth and contrast instead. Each pair becomes a small example of how applying different techniques when selecting colors impacts the overall image. I used to truly daydream about studying color theory through this kind of mirroring and repetition, but I was always putting it off for two reasons. One, I struggled to start a piece that I decided was just for practice. I work well under pressure, and there's no pressure in a practice piece that is never going to see the light of day. Two, I truly did not want to jack with my portraits by adding color to them. My recent passion for color has pulled me over both of these hurdles. I want to play with them so badly, I'll put them on anything, and I'm so eager to play with them, I don't need the pressure of an external deadline to motivate myself. That eagerness is spilling straight into this winter painting. After all that restraint, all that careful study, I feel almost giddy getting to throw color at this more impressionistic piece. I'm going to get to use colors I've never touched before, such vibrant blues and even an amazing shimmering gold that I bought by itself because I needed it for this piece. I've always been drawn to paintings with an impressionistic flair, especially when the subject is a human figure. There's something particularly magnetic about work where the figure is fairly well defined, but the surrounding world isn't. I love it when the surrounding scene's vibrancy is communicated through swirls of colors and indistinct shapes. It allows you to feel the place rather than study its specifics, which I think is more akin to what it's like to experience places in real life. When I go on a beautiful hike through the woods, or eat lunch by a waterfall, or pick flowers from a garden, I'm not taking in the minute details of everything around me. I'm experiencing the rush of all of it at once. I love art that communicates that rush. This 4-day deadline has definitely got me working faster than I usually do. I'm used to working under time constraints, but this is a little ridiculous. Since I'm working with oils, I need to set aside some time before we leave town to go to my parents' house to spray the piece down with a fixative and let it dry thoroughly before it's framed. Josh asked if I could just wait to do this part until we get to my parents' house, and in theory I could, but the idea of finishing this thing and then traveling with it without having it behind glass terrifies me. Oil-based mediums just never fully dry, and they can always be manipulated if you don't seal them properly. A bit of pressure from anything could manipulate the paint. Honestly, I do love a hard deadline. If there's wiggle room, or if there's no deadline and the project is open-ended, I feel that awful pressure to keep working on it until it's perfect, which of course it never will be, but I'll overthink every stroke and work myself into a tight little knot, convincing myself that it could be. For this reason, I always give myself deadlines for my pieces that I convince myself are not negotiable. I'll complain about being stressed about finishing a piece, quote-unquote, in time, when I'm the one who has created the timeline, and Josh will point out that I'm the architect of the timeline, and I can change it to give myself more time if I want it or need it, and I will balk at that concept, because if I accept that, it changes my relationship with my work for the worse. So, we stick to hard deadlines in this house most of the time. There's a real relief in finishing something on time, not because it's perfect, but because it's done. The deadline closes the door on endless revisions and second guessing. It gives the piece a stopping point, and it gives me permission to step away. In that sense, the deadline isn't just practical, it's protective. It keeps the work moving forward, and it keeps me from tightening that knot any further. It is a good thing I have a firm deadline here to force me away from perfectionism, because perfectionism is a looming threat for me whenever I'm recreating a piece of someone else's like this. If I'm creating a piece that's never been created before, there's nothing to compare it to or measure it against. It just is what it is, and it's mine. With this piece, I'm trying to take an existing piece, translate it through my own artistic language, and achieve a result that gives a similar impression. When I'm done, I'll look at this painting against the original and ask myself if it gives me a similar sense of winter magic, and if it doesn't, I'll just be honest. I'm going to be a bit devastated. It's going to be fine. That will not happen, or at least if you're watching this video, it did not happen, because I would have been too brokenhearted to post it. I've heard it said that artists should fail often and fail fast, because this is how we learn. I'm honestly just not sure if that's true for me. I've always had to be very gentle with myself in my practice. You'd think I'd reach a point where I've made so many beautiful pieces that a train wreck here or there isn't going to shake my sense of self. It's just going to teach me some things. That is not true for me. If I create something I hate, I have to create something I love immediately to shake off the feeling that piece I hate had left me with. There were probably some very learnable lessons in that piece that I hated, but it's hard for me to discern them through all of the frustration I feel with myself. For this reason, instead of practicing bravely and failing often and fast, I have moved very slowly through the development of my artistic skill set. I'm not convinced that this is a bad thing, but it does go against the grain of what's recommended. This painting ended up being such a beautiful way to immerse myself in the Christmas spirit. I'm so grateful I was able to set aside a few consecutive days to just play in this picture and enjoy Christmas movies and think about my mom. It's so odd that something so rushed could make me feel so present. I feel like that's the difference between work that you're passionate about and work that just needs doing. I've always loved making handmade gifts for people. They feel so much more meaningful to me than anything store-bought. When you make something by hand, you're giving more than an object. You're giving time, attention, thought, and a piece of yourself. For me, that is the most genuine way I know how to say, I love you. Which is kind of unfortunate because it's a lot more time consuming than just saying the words or buying somebody a present. There's not enough time to make gifts for everyone every year. In some years, the resources or the energy just aren't there. But this year, I'm incredibly thankful that I did have the time and the space to make this for my mom. It feels special to be able to give her something that carries so much memory and intention.